What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off. It's getting cold outside, and yay for that, man. I'm not a fan of summer, especially as a guy that runs around dressed in dark navy and body armor for like 50 or 60 hours every week. But cold is the reason for my super cool hat. Those of you that know this is a Stormy Chromer, so this is a USA-made wool hat. They're awesome. They kind of have some really cool old school vibes, but man, they're comfortable and they are absolutely warm. So what are we going to talk about today? So I have been, for about the last month, playing with a thermal device from Armasight. So they sent this guy out to me. I don't get to keep it. It's going back in the mail. They just wanted somebody to give like real honest feedback, and that's kind of what I do. So as always, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. Fight the algorithm, good fight with me down there below. And if you want to support the channel, take a look down in the description. It says support the channel or help the channel or whatever I have it say. It either go to a Google Docs or my website, depending on when you view this video. Follow those links. Anything you were going to do anyway and you use those links, it helps the channel. And for that, I thank you. So the Armasight thermals, right? So the one I got in was the Armasight 640. So this is the 640 Sidekick. So for those of you that don't know what thermal is, thermal sees using heat signatures, right? It's something we would know as FLIR, or forward-looking infrared radar. We are seeing the discrepancy in temperature between normal ambient temperatures, colder things, and hotter things. Those temperature, the ability to see being represented by a change in color and what we would actually witness. It's actually far more effective than you would think if you've never played around with thermals. It is almost night vision with some serious handicaps that night vision doesn't have. But the Armasight 640, so this is a 12 micron, 60 hertz refresh rate, very compact, very lightweight, handheld, or even cooler, helmet mountable thermal device, right? So super simple. I've got the micro rail on the side of this guy here for mounting up for using like my actual like rhinos and stuff like that. But it's a really cool device. And being the fact that I work later into the evening, I was able to play with this guy on shift and actually like go through and find things and do stuff that normal people wouldn't get to do. Most of the time when people do thermal stuff, we're looking at like the deer in the woods. I was not. So the battery life on this guy, which is always a big question. So the battery life down here, the way this guy comes, you can take either one or two CR123 batteries. This is made possible by the fact that this is the single CR123 capability. And then we have this extender that'll actually extend off the front of this guy like this. It's a pretty drastic increase in battery lifetime. If we use that extender, we go from 1.5 hours with a standard single CR123 to 5.5 hours of actual usable runtime. It does have a zoom, so it does have a digital zoom on it. So we have 1 power, 2 power, and 4 power. I will tell you that once you get beyond 2 power, if you were trying to ID whatever the hell it was you were looking at, you're wasting your time. Digital zoom sucks for that reason and that reason only. Optical zoom will always be superior. That's the reason when you try to zoom in on things with like your cheap digital camera, it gets all super furry, right? Now just imagine it being super furry trying to read only heat signatures. It's a bad idea. Is it usable? Does it do it? Yeah. But I don't know, not necessarily my thing. But what all comes with it? So when you get the actual device itself. So the 640 Sidekick here, you get that battery extender I just showed you, a couple of CR123 batteries, the Spuds Armasight lens cloth here, which is like my favorite thing for cleaning glasses and optics anyway. And then you get something that if you are familiar with night vision, this looks eerily similar. And this is very close to a PVS 14 case, just in the cool Armasight gray color, pouch on the front, ID loop field on the back, padded, MOLLE compatible, right? Super simple, nothing spectacular. But here's the thing. If I'm going to order a device like night vision or something, I want the case to be cool. Yeah, sure. But I'm more interested in you spending the money on the device. I'm getting a knot on the bag. So some of the stuff that this guy does, and I'll be honest, it took me a second because I only have, whatever that was, I only have 3 buttons, right? But what I get with the 3 buttons is, so if I single press the front button, I cycle through my zoom, 1, 2, 4 power. And if I have the menu open, which is holding down the middle button, I can cycle up with my up button. Really simple to do. You actually witness all of this on the screen on the inside, which you guys will be seeing like stuff showing up about here that's actually the imagery of the device and the menu and all that stuff. So the center button on this guy, just pressing it will open up the menu button. Holding this down will open the detailed menu, which is a much longer option. I'm not going to go into that. That's a thing you play with on your own. And the rear button, which is kind of the thing, the down arrow back here. So if I just press it, I start and stop video recording. Really cool. If I hold it down, I take a still image. That's really cool. The imagery that you're seeing is captured by this device that should be going through right about now. That imagery was captured on this device, as well as I cycled through all the different settings that this thing had. Really cool, very simple, easy to use system itself. The fact that I have built-in digital recording or built-in photographs is really, really cool. It also has built-in compass, which you should see on the screen, and it's incredibly accurate. Even up against a Suunto compass, a Garmin compass, or my GPS, it was dead on accurate, which is a cool thing to have. But the system itself actually functions as a USB-C interface. So it uses USB-C in order to connect it for powering the unit from an external battery device, or it functions as a memory stick when you plug it into your computer to pull that imagery and those videos off. I will warn you though, because the system itself of how it's designed, it is incredibly slow. It took 2.5 hours to get the footage you'll see in the course of this video off of the device and onto my computer. So what's cool about this thing? Super simple, intuitive interface, man. Once you start playing with it, it is very easy to navigate your way through and what you need to do. The one-touch recording and video is also incredibly cool. As far as the build quality goes on this stuff, it's kind of always hit or miss when we start talking about consumer electronics. But it is incredibly lightweight, and it's an Ultim body. For those guitar players out there, those are Ultex picks, that's Ultim. For those pen guys, Ultim. You know what I'm talking about. For everybody else, it's a really hard polymer that is kind of impervious to temperature. It does have that micro rail mount, which allows it to be used handheld but also helmet mounted, which brings me to probably one of the coolest experiences you can have with the Sidekick 640, and that is you can bridge it with a PVS 14 for the ultimate predator experience. So you would have one eye registering thermal with the other eye registering night vision through either your green phos or white phos tubes. It's really cool. One of the things that I liked about this, and you don't see it in all thermal devices, and somebody has a mental image of what this is the actual modes. So typically if you watch anything from the United States government, it's either white hot or black hot. Those are always available on pretty much any thermal device known to man. You can either make the heat signatures black in appearance, or you can make the heat signatures white in appearance. And the differences in temperatures and the way things retain heat enables you to see in the dark. However, this also has the rainbow mode, which is the multicolored predator vision, which is what you should think of it as. It also includes something known as target, which is true predator vision, which is a full gray scale in the background with slight changes as far as heat goes, but an actual really hot signature is going to show up as a bright orange red color. If you get one of these, look at your dog. It's super creepy. Just saying. And then there is my favorite setting, which is sepia. Sepia is that old school brown tone with a white hot background. It has absolutely got the best contrast and clarity for use at night and in the dark. So in the footage that was on this video, when you saw me using that thermal, it was about 21 degrees outside. So I was right around freezing or a little above, and I was able to see pretty much anything I wanted and to navigate. So what is a thermal good for? Well, if you're a coyote or a predator hunter, you already know. They allow you to see things you would normally not be able to see. But as the prepared citizen, the Minuteman mindset, a thermal has a lot of really cool options. Distinguishing things at a longer distance through night vision is a pain. It is incredibly hard to do. Distinguishing things at a little further distance with thermal, tells you where to start looking. You can see things. And if for no other reason, buying a thermal, and I've said this before, to learn how to hide from it and defeat it is absolutely worth every penny you're going to pay for it. And I said there were some pitfalls to thermal that don't exist in night vision. And one of the biggest ones is a thermal is completely defeated by glass. That means if I try to look out of the windshield of my truck, I have no vision at all, because glass is an excellent thermal barrier. You cannot see anything through glass with a thermal. That is probably its greatest pitfall. Its other pitfall is, unlike night vision and white light, photonic barriers still exist with thermal. And something you would see that in is if we had an area of rocks that was incredibly hot and it retained heat, the likelihood of you not being able to spot what it is you're looking for in those rocks is higher than you want to admit, because they all share the same thermal signature. So that is a pitfall to thermal. But the bonuses to thermal are insane. The simple act of being able to quickly realize, like, yep, that heat source I see is a person, right? Because it's you can see it. You will also learn things like how to hide from it, where you're visible at, where you're not visible at. You will see things like how hot, like, a firearm gets on the line, like, and it's instant, right? So, and where that comes, like, oh yeah, no joke, no duh, Uncle Freedom, like, firearms get hot, right? But have you ever thought of it in the context of how quickly somebody could identify you and what you're holding? Again, one of the greatest benefits to thermal, aside from all of the uses we know, I can see in the dark, I can see heat signatures in the dark, it's easier for me to identify things at longer distances, yada, yada, yada. That part is cool. But learning how to defeat thermal, how you can hide from thermal, what clothing presents a barrier that they can't register you there. Because make no mistake, right? Like, all that cool combat footage we see is from cheap-ass drones that have thermals, or planes with thermals. Which means that if we ever found ourselves in a world where the Minuteman scenario is a real thing, your ability to hide from a thermal becomes incredibly critical, very life or death, and you only get to get it wrong one time. Because if you get it wrong, you will cease to exist. Because targeting systems are run off of thermal. They'll run off of thermal for a reason. It is the hardest thing for you to defeat as a person. And the best way to learn how to defeat thermal is from using thermals and knowing when you can and can't see anything. Knowing that, hey, you know, I got behind this thing. I know I'm invisible to thermal now, right? Like, that part of having thermals, like learning to hide from it. Once you become proficient and you've got some skill set beyond hiding from a thermal, now you still have a thermal, like, right? You still have the ability to see in the dark, to see heat signatures in the dark, to be able to identify things that you would normally never be able to identify. And like I said, even at longer distances where you may not be able to tell exactly what it is, but you know where to start looking, right? Because it's not so much, if you're on a nighttime patrol, it's very important that you know where you can walk, but the most important thing is, where should I not be walking at, right? If we know at 500 yards, I can't really make out what it is, but I know for sure there are 3 heat signatures moving around over there, probably behooves me to not go in that general vicinity, right? So learning that stuff and teaching yourself to evade it, or to avoid detection, or to use it as a security device to help you maintain your level of security is almost as important as the ability to see in the dark anyway. And I know somebody is going to argue this point, and I mean, hell, I've made this argument before too. I have night vision, why do I need thermals? Because they see things differently. Night vision amplifies ambient light and allows me to see what I'm doing. It is also heavily dependent on the tubes, and that technology, a very analog technology. Even though digital night vision is progressing and does exist, thermal is always digital, which means it's a more robust system. It is going to be more battery conscious. It's going to solve a lot of the problems we have with NVGs and give us some stuff that we didn't normally have. It's also significantly harder to hide from thermal than it ever will be from night vision, right? Provided you're not wearing like cheap Chinesian plate carriers that reflect IR light like you're wearing a strobe. Providing you're not doing that, it is incredibly easy to hide from night vision, right? Because we lose depth of field, depth perception and stuff when we start looking through night vision devices. We do not lose a lot of that looking through thermals. By the very nature of how it represents the depth of field that you see, I can tell things are further away and what's closer, right? Like I can get such insane detail. I can identify your car based on the way different parts of the car withhold heat from my vision. There is so much stuff that you can do. So many things you can see. It's a worthwhile investment. It truly is. If you want to be, like if you've got, I'm not saying this is the investment you need to make if you don't have your armor, your guns and all that set up. But if you've already got your baby, your rifle, and you've got your handgun built out and you've got a pretty decent stock of ammo, you've got your support gear for those systems, why not? Why not? I mean, right now, so this device right here was about $3,000. Now, granted, I didn't pay for it, but I also don't get to keep it. They get it back. $3,000 for a literal superpower you can buy. Night vision is the same thing. It's $8,000 to $9,000 for a literal superpower that you can buy. But I can tell you that buying a $3,000 night vision device is going to give me nowhere near the capability of a $3,000 thermal. It's just fact. It's how it works. Unless it fell off the truck and you got it, it ain't happening, right? To get good quality tubes that are well maintained and give you the best possible option, you ain't getting into like night vision at like $3,000 for some stuff that does some crazy stuff. Adding to that now your reconnaissance mode, as you're witnessing the travel that's taking place in this area, that people were in this place at night, and you can snapshot that and go back and now have data that you can actually review, and it's not just your word, you can show it taking place. It's really cool, and it's a part of the Minutemen story that needs to be explored more, but it doesn't get explored or talked about because it's so expensive. So that's the reason I partnered up with Armasight to do this video, mainly because we weren't talking about, look what I got in the box, or man, it's cool, look at this coyote. I want to talk to you about real applications for thermal, real applications for night vision. In a real world fight, we take every advantage that exists. And $3,000, I know it's expensive, right? Don't at me, it's expensive, bro. I'm well aware the economy sucks and this is expensive. But if you could save up to literally buy yourself a superpower that allows you to see like the freaking Predator, why would you not do it? Especially in the world mindset that we discuss on this channel. So guys, hopefully you found this informative. You learned something cool today. Maybe it gave you something to aspire for, or just something new to look at, or maybe something new to figure out how not to tell your wife about. Either way, I am glad you joined me today. Hopefully you enjoyed this and found this informative. So as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and until next time, I'll see you later.